Okay then, so in this video I'm going to show you how to loft. So lofting, we're going to create a kind of a tower. So I'll just show you very quickly what I mean by loft. I'm going to draw a shape which is going to be a circle, and then what I'm going to do is going to copy and paste that circle. I'm going to copy and paste that circle a number of times. In fact, I'm going to do it 3 times in this case, and then each circle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it slightly. So this middle circle I'm going to move to the right, and this circle I'm going to move backwards. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select each circle using the shift button so that I select all 3, and then I'm going to click on the loft tool, and that's what you get. You kind of get this kind of lofted tower kind of shape. So let's go through that step by step again. So I'm going to use a circle. You could use a rectangle, you could use an ellipse or a polygon, it's completely up to you, but I'm going to use a circle. Click on the grid with your circle tool, and then I'm going to click and drag. And now I'm going to do these circles about 30-40 millimeters, doesn't really matter. And every time you draw the circle, you have to press enter to commit the sketch to the screen. And then you select the bottom circle. To select, you must go just inside the circle. You see where my pointer is now. The circle will glow green. Click and it will turn blue. And then on your keyboard, I'm going to press Control C, Control V. Control C is copy and Control V is paste. And then I'm going to move that circle up. Now if you wanted it to be a certain distance, you can type in the distance. Then I'm going to want that 20, that's fine. And then hit enter. Then I'm going to select the next circle, copy and paste that. And then I'm going to move it up again by 20. And this time I'm going to do 4 circles. So I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to select that one, copy, paste, and again move that up 20 millimeters. Hit enter again. Now if I was just to do that, to loft that as it is, all I would get is a cylinder. I don't want a cylinder. There's no point in doing that because I could just go to primitives and I could just drag a cylinder onto the screen and draw it that way. What lofts allow you to do is create more interesting shapes. So there's a number of things you can do. You can obviously change the position of the circle. So if I go to select the circle, go to settings and move, so I can move that circle in any direction. I could also tilt it. I could also scale it. So if you go to the cog and then go to scale, so I can make this one smaller. To commit the scale, you just click off it like that. And the last thing is that you could do a bit of both. So I could scale it down, and I could move it as well. So I'm going to rotate this one this way. Click off. Now if I rotate around that, you can see that the circles are still kind of over the top of each other. It won't work. I'll show you what will happen. It won't work sometimes if you have tilted the circle too much. It doesn't like it. Or if the circles or the shapes, they don't have to be circles, or if they're touching each other. So in this case, the 2 circles are touching, so the computer won't like that. If you make a mistake, Control Z, so I can undo those two things. Those 2 steps, I can go back. So just be careful not to have the shapes touching each other and not to over rotate them or move them too far away from each other. So if this shape was out there, that's not going to work. The shapes kind of need to be stacked on top of each other. So to create the loft, you select the first sketch, and then you must hold down Shift on the keyboard. Shift is the outline of an arrow pointing upwards. There's one on the left and one on the right hand side of your keyboard. Usually above function and above the cursors on your keyboard. So hold down shift, and then that will allow you to select the other circles. You must select them in order. Remember to select, you just go just inside the shape until it glows green. Click, click. So I'm going to select all the circles in order. So I'll do that again. I'll select the bottom one, hold down shift, next one, next one, next one. Now if one of the shapes is too small, then you might have to zoom in to select it. Click on your home button again to zoom out. Click on the cog, or go to the cog, you don't have to click, and then go along to loft and click loft. Click off that to view it, view round, and you can see that you create more. It's quite interesting, quite organic shape. Let's have a go at that again. This time I'm going to use a polygon. So click on the grid. I'm going to use a hexagon. Enter to draw that. That's my kind of base sketch. So copy and paste, move it up. Copy and paste, move it up. And I'm going to do a fourth one. You can do more. So the one at the top, I'm going to make that fairly small because it's going to go almost to a point. This one I'm going to scale up a little bit bigger, and then the one at the bottom I'm going to scale a little bit bigger as well. This time I'm going to actually leave them in the centre. They're going to be centred with each other. You could move them about, you could tilt them again. Select the bottom one, hold down shift, second layer, third layer, fourth layer, go to loft. I quite like that. It's quite an interesting shape. So have a little bit of a play with the loft tool. What you could do then is if you select the form, so I'm just selecting the 3D form there, go to move, you could move that out of the way, and you'll find that the sketches remain behind. So what you could do is, once you've got some shapes, a shape that you like, or a shape that you could design, you could have a go at tweaking it and developing it. So in this case, I could have a go at moving those to one side and maybe tilting them. Obviously it depends what you've designed, so you should be trying to create something you've drawn maybe. Let's have a go at that, see what happens. Holding down the shift button, selecting each layer, and then go to loft. So that's a bit more, that's kind of the same shape, but it's quite distorted. Let's have a go with this one. Select the form, the 3D form, move that to one side with the move tool. Select the layers again. I'm going to go thinner this time, way thinner, see what happens. I'm going to change the scale of this one as well. I'm also going to move it, just rotate it slightly. Let's see what happens there. Hold down the shift, select your sketches, and then click on loft. Yeah, I like that, quite interesting shape. Okay, so once you've got some lofts on your screen, then print the screen, pop that into PowerPoint, and print that off for your folder. Make sure you put your name on the PowerPoint before you print it out. The last thing I'm going to quickly show you is how to add windows, or how to extrude into the surface of these shapes. Now these shapes, let's take this one in particular, are an organic shape. There are no flat surfaces apart from on the top. So if you wanted to extrude into these surfaces, you can't just select a circle, and you can't click on the surface. You can only click on the surface if it's flat. So what you have to do, you have to draw on the surface of the grid. So I'm going to click on the grid, and in this case I'm going to draw a circle. To enter, I'm going to use my pan tool just to get around, and what we need to do is select the circle, click on move, and then we're going to move that up. Now I'm going to use my view cube for this. I'm going to go to front view, and we can see that obviously if I want to make a hole, for example, I'm going to make a hole here. then I need to position the circle in front of the shape to be able to punch that as a hole into the surface. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to rotate my view, and then I'm going to rotate the circle 90 degrees this way. Again, if it's easier to type it in, you can. And I'm going to move it out this way. Now if I go to the top view on my view cube, I'll get a better idea of where the circle is, so I can move it into position. So I know that I want the hole to be here, so that's pretty central. And if I just flip my view cube over to the front, I can see I want it a bit higher up, and actually I want it there. If I go in top view again, you'll just check that. You can see that I can put it a bit nearer, but I don't want to put it too near. When I've got the circle in position, I'm going to go back to home view. Because I've got all these other shapes, when I press home view, it kind of puts a view where I can see all of the shapes. If I'm just dealing with this shape, I'm going to use, if I put my arrow there, I'm just use my scroll wheel and then pan. I can get that into position, ready for the extrusion. So I click on the circle and I click on go to settings and then go to extrude, and then I'm going to push that and pull it into the shape, and you see when it touches the surface of the form it goes red, and at that point it's kind of eating or punching a hole into the surface. I don't want a hole, I could go all the way through, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to go into the surface like that and then press enter, and you can see that I've made a hole in the side of that organic shape. Obviously if you were designing something like building and you wanted to add windows, then you would put the windows obviously around the building. So what you could do is I could leave that there, or I could move it into position. Obviously if you don't do, if it's not right, then you just undo that. So you go undo, or you can obviously click on the undo button up here. So if we just look at that, you can see that now I'm going to rotate it round because I want it to go into that position. I wouldn't recommend grabbing it from the center because you're not quite sure in which direction you're moving it, so I would always use the arrows. There we go. Back to 3D view, zoom in on that, and then I'm going to go to hit enter to draw that. I'm going to select the circle again, and then I'm going to go to extrude, and then I'm going to push that into the surface. There we go, and enter. And there we go, there's another hole. So obviously you wanted the holes going all the way around. That's one way of doing it. So there you go, that's lofting, also extruding or creating holes in those lofted shapes.